visual that we use in our classroom is this egg candling chart. So this is based on a duck, and duck candling should look fairly similar, if not the same, as goose candling. They basically follow around the same timeline. Some geese take a little bit longer, some ducks actually take a bit longer as well, depending on the breed. So basically this shows you what you should see when you candle a duck or goose egg at different days or stages throughout the growth. So one thing that I wanted to point out here is that when you go along, you notice that this air pocket is growing. And so the significance of this is, and what's happening is that as air is, or oxygen is entering through those tiny, tiny holes we talked about in the egg, some of that air is diffusing into the blood vessels and going to help with the construction and growth of that chick. And some of the oxygen is going into this air pocket that is between the membrane and the shell. So this air pocket is building as we get closer to hatch time. So what's happening is that oxygen is coming into the eggshell between the membrane and the shell, and moisture is exiting the egg. And so we're losing moisture while gaining oxygen. And then what happens when it's hatch time is this little babe is first going to pip internally. So that means that babe is going to break through the membrane first. And then they're going to essentially take their first breath inside of the egg with this air pocket. So they're going to breathe in the air that's in this air pocket first. And then it usually takes anywhere from 28 to 48 hours more from internal pip, more like 24 hours, but internal pip to external pip. So external pip is when they break through the shell. So internal pip, they're breaking the membrane and they're breathing in oxygen within the shell in this air pocket. And then external pip, they're going to break through the shell and they're going to take their first breath of fresh air from the environment around them and then finish their hatch out. Okay, look at that. So see that, so the air pocket, so the egg has like tiny, tiny, tiny little holes, and air travels into the egg and it's filling up this air pocket. And then these blood vessels kind of squeeze up right against the membrane here, and oxygen will diffuse into the blood vessel and travel to the growing embryo. So the growing embryo. So if you're, can you see it moving in there? Like the little, you can see the blood vessels go, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a shady bit down there.
Hey, baby. And the dark part is where the goose is. And then the light part is look at it.
Yeah, that is the developing embryo, the developing baby goose. At this stage, it's still
beak like that, kind of like.
It's hard to say for sure. So this right here, that's the air pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got blood vessels
like
that are pushed right up against that membrane, right at the egg. Oxygen diffuses into the blood vessels, travels to the embryo, and so the egg white and the yolk is everything that the baby needs to develop. It's all the nutrients. So when it's ready to hatch, it will first do an internal pip. So it'll break through the internal membrane into that oxygen right there, into that air pocket, and it'll start breathing that pocket of air. And then it works its way to the shell, and then it will externally pip out of the shell. So then it'll crack the shell and breathe the fresh air around it.
Yeah, and that's how
they die. But it internally
die.
pips first.
So if they can't pip the shell or they don't have enough energy, they'll run out of air in the air pocket and they'll pass away.
We have had some die at that point. They'll internally pip, and for whatever reason, they cannot externally pip, and then they run out of oxygen and do die. So it takes a lot to get a baby goose from fertilization to a healthy, full incubation period, and then a healthy hatch.